Hello everybody, here we are today talking about why these aren't your brother's Detroit Red Wings and talking about how they are better. So before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So the Detroit Red Wings haven't been the league's most exciting team in a while, and they haven't posted more than 35 wins in a season since the 2015-16 campaign. However, things are starting to come alive in Hockeytown, and the feeling is that people are buzzing, very excited to watch this team. Why is that, and what is going to be the making of this season? Well, we're going to talk about things here and keep it relatively simple about why the Wings are better. And in reality, it just comes down to a few things that are relatively simple, and it's the fact that they are winning games. Looking at this Red Wings side, they haven't made the playoffs in 7 seasons now, which beforehand it was a mainstay, norm, regular, if you will. People were brought into their mid-20s, seeing them go to the playoffs. However, it's been, nearing a decade since they haven't got to see postseason hockey, but now we're in a spot where they've won 6 in a row, the first time since they've done so since 2019, and they are looking at their playoff odds, thinking that they have a pretty good chance to make it. At the moment, MoneyPuck.com has them at 75%, and you're thinking, okay, maybe they're a wild card team, but I think that if things continue to go well towards the final stretch of the season, they might not be able to win their division, but they could very well compete for that 3rd spot in the Atlantic, which is, again, one of those fun things talking about, well, we haven't done that in quite a while, so let's see what we can do now. And that is where the excitement comes from. Just the chance to compete for Lord Stanley, because they haven't been in the playoffs since 2016. And just to give you an idea of how long it's been since Detroit was in the playoffs, I was a sophomore in high school. I'm going to be 24 in less than a month. And in that time, I graduated high school, college, got married, and had a dog. And we still haven't seen the Wings compete for the playoffs. But here we are in a spot where they are now possibly on pace to hit 100 points for the first time since the 2014-15 season. And they are just really looking like a team we haven't seen in over a decade. I think you could argue even longer, because some of those teams that were just trying to keep the playoff streak alive were doing so in order to keep this legacy going, whereas this team feels a little bit different. And I know, while this team hasn't been a President's Trophy contender since the late 2000s, they are a side that, like I said earlier, is still contending or just making people focus in on them more because of the winning. But it's not just the winning, too. I think it's the names in the offense. Looking at names like Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane, certainly those help by bringing in fans and keeping them interested. DeBrincat, a Michigan guy that is young, 26 years old, and has 2 40-plus goal seasons under his belt. He started off the year insanely hot. He has cooled off a little bit, but still looks like he's on his way to scoring 30 goals in his first season with Detroit. And it has to feel good knowing that with his arrival to the team, you're likely seeing the playoff drought end as well. Now, looking at a guy like Patrick Kane, maybe people not that long ago would have hated Patrick Kane if you were a Detroit fan, but now you're in a situation where you are kind of, rooting for him. He is a veteran player that is no longer on the team that he always seemed like he would finish with, but he is still being a very productive player. 30 points in 28 games played, so averaging over a point per game. And again, a lot of iconic moments along the way as he won 3 championships with the Hawks. And Detroit's thinking maybe we could have a little bit of magic here where we win a Stanley Cup with Kane. Now, I will say to other teams like the Boston Bruins, Montreal Canadiens, and Toronto Maple Leafs, you guys have to wait your turn to be an original 16 that Kane plays for. Going to have to get line mates to be on your team in order for that to happen with Panarin and now DeBrincat. But either way, still over a point per game now is a player that is definitely in his 30s. Something to watch out for. But of course, too, we get to talk about more names. One of those guys being Dylan Larkin. Now, speaking of Larkin, he is another individual that you're talking about the offensive game being good and somebody that is worth buying a ticket for. He is on pace to finish his season with about a point per game, first time in his career they'd be able to do so. And with that extension that he signed, I think it was this summer, he looks like he's pretty much a lock to play over 1,000 games with the Red Wings. Doesn't seem possible that he's already played over 600 games with the team, but the reality is Motown's captain is possibly going to be etching quite a legacy for himself in the coming years. I'm not saying that he's going to be considered a Detroit Red Wing great just yet or anything like that, but I think that it's very easy to root for a guy that's been there through a lot of the lows and that is now possibly going to see a resurgence of hockey in the city and in the state and just for Red Wings fans in general. I really am hoping that he can kind of etch himself into a Red Wing great by the time it's all said and done. a lot of work to be done in that time, but still somebody that is worth talking about. And the DeBrincat, Larkin, and Kane line that we are talking about here is a line that has worked really well since they've all got to play together. They've outscored teams 12-5 at 5-on-5 play and 18-9 in general. Just part of the things that are going right here is you have two Michigan guys and a guy from New York that are playing a vital role in helping this team be able to maybe hit 40 wins or more on the season. Plus Lucas Raymond, an individual that you all probably know by now, is looking to possibly set a career high for points, very likely will, and may even crack the 70-point mark by the end of the season, as this Red Wings side is fresh off of an 8-goal game where a lot of players are racking up points as of late, and the offense just in general is electric. Team stats, you're looking at things like 5-on-5. It is second in goals for per 60. That actually might be all strength, so just behind the Vancouver Canucks. And then the power play is really good as well, as they rank 8th in power play percentage and 8th in goals for per 60. So you can clearly see the pieces that are being laid out as to why fans would want to be able to tune in for these games. A lot of players you can root for that are new faces, young faces, or guys that have been there for a minute that are still relatively young, that are all contributing to a high-scoring team that is suddenly winning for the first time in like 8 years. And while we could go on and on and on about why a Red Wings side like this is doing better, I think the reality is just talking about the finishing points, where it's really simple. You are seeing this side that is not your brother's team because of the fact that they are winning, they are fun, they are not like competing for the bottom of the division, and it's great. Now I know some people will say, when your team is bad, it's good because you have a good chance of getting the first overall pick. Are you happy that your team is really bad, or are you happy that you're getting a reward for it? I would say that you're pretty happy for your team being rewarded for it. Now that it's over, they are happy that they are just in a spot where they can win, and for the first time in about 10 years, and even a little bit longer, I'd say that this Red Wings side is very hopeful that not only will they make the playoffs, but maybe something can happen in there, as you're hoping that this is the start of something really good for Detroit. We kept hearing every year, just wait, just wait, just wait a little bit longer. Some of these young guys are really starting to blossom into good players, and I would love to see Detroit possibly go on a run, because hockey is more fun. The NHL is more fun when the Red Wings are relevant, and right now, for the first time since my sophomore year in high school, they are relevant, and I'd argue they're going to be way more relevant than that side was. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the Detroit Red Wings this season, about why they are fun to watch, why they're good? Let me know all that stuff down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe, have a great night, and you love hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.